powerful ministry, and to be a direct result of that ministry. You know, we go way back. I was his age. My son's 14 years old. He may not look 14, but he's 14. Ladies, relax. He's 14 years old. Okay. So, and I was about his age when we first connected, and you know, needless to say, Pastor Carlos always had that very infectious, just positive, joyous attitude, just always. And regardless of whatever chip on your shoulder, you couldn't help yourself but laugh. You couldn't help yourself but, you know, him being goofy and just, you know, having a good time at all times. And before I even start talking about Pastor Carlos, which I could talk about for days, I had to talk about his very significant wife. And she forever was, the way I described her even back in those days, was very quiet, very peaceful, very meek, but she carried a big stick. Right? Yeah, I'm sure she does. You know, the complete balance to Carlos where, you know, you don't mess with her kids, better not mess with her kids, better not mess with her kids. She will spank everybody she has to. But, you know, it was always a testament of that relationship and the way they balanced each other and just stood each other's sides and held each other up. And it was, you know, it was an example of what I was needing to look for, you know, as I got older and as I matured. So, you know, I always thank you for holding that man up and holding him accountable and raising these babies over here. Got one over there. I know the hey, listen, Tanya, I know, girl. Woo! God bless you. But I mean, needless to say, from growing up with Tanya and all the girls and the baby, I was like, Lord mercy, he was like being held. It's insane to see 25 years later the effect, you know, and seeing that it continues, and I'm touched by that, you know, tremendously touched by that. And needless to say, when I ran to Gracie and she was working out and getting fit for the wedding, we were both running that treadmill like, girl, you dying, I'm dying too. Like, don't get it twisted, I'm just holding my composure, but this is not fun at all. And, you know, obviously just being so nostalgic and going, you know, having that throwback moment, and just like, please tell your dad that I need to get with him. Please tell your dad that I love him. Tell him we're going to get together, going to get together. And the last 4.5 years, it's been absolutely insane in a positive way. Like, God has just been moving, and my life has been moving in the lives around me. And it's because of the fact, it's because of Carlos, and because of so many people, mentors, if you will, in my life that have touched me, who have given me the opportunity to grow, to mature, to be an overcomer. You know, because obviously all of us have our challenges, we have our mantles, we have our burdens, we have our crosses that we bear. But it was the fact that we are coming to this world to help each other, to pick each other up, to pay it forward. I've been through something. I want to make sure you don't have to go through that same thing. And that same concept just never left me, no matter what. And I remember him, you know, giving all of the speeches and the prayers and the sermons and everything like that. And of course, there was so much that stuck to us. And it's funny because, you know, as an educators, right? We know that we talk a lot and we have to talk a lot. We always wonder, like, what's going to stick? You know, and we give tests, we give quizzes, and we want to see what's going to stick, what kind of grade, what kind of effect it's going to have on this child's life, right? And as much as we deal with academics, and a lot of people think it's on the surface, it goes so much deeper. Because I know all of us can talk about that one person, those people, those teachers that made that impact in our lives. All those other teachers, you don't remember their names, but Mrs. So-and-so and Mr. So-and-so, they made an impact. I never forgot their name. And Carlos was one of those people. And because of him, what has spun from those many, many, many years at Bethel, those many, many years even outside of Bethel, of him paying forward and touching my life and just pouring into me. And I'll never forget, I don't know if you remember, at an early age, I might have been around his age, you know, he sat me down. You know, my mom was, just to give you a little background, my mom, you know, my background is Jamaican. My mom's very Jamaican, old school. She believes strongly in the whole spirit of the rod, spoil the child. Strongly, she feels very strongly about that, okay? But needless to say, you know, in raising up a young man on her own, you know, my mom always took pride in being the man of the house, right? She allowed herself to be the man. But at the end of the day, you're mom. You know, you are mom, and Father Day's coming around, and Mom was like, I expect the card, because I was your mama and I was your daddy, you know? And at this age, my wife was here, she'll be coming by later. We always kind of joke about that, like, listen, you're mom, you had your role, we'll give you cards and all the doilies and all that kind of stuff on Mother's Day. But there was that gap. There was always a gap. There's only so much she could do as mom to be dad, right? Again, heavy-handed, you know, strong, disciplinarian, absolutely. But at the end of the day, you're just not dad. Like the physiology, you got nice hair, girl, you wear the heels. You're not dad. Let's just be real. And it's funny because having that gap and not even recognizing it as a young age, what that does to you. You know, you don't realize the fact that you have to grow up earlier than you should be growing up, right? And thank God, you know, our children don't have that factor because of families like this that show that example of sticking together, you know, supporting one another, being there for your children, working things out. Again, we're all different. Like we were saying, we always have to be accountable as individuals. But together, when we're united, it's a powerful thing. And though there was that gap, there was those people in my life that I can name after name, and Carlos being one of the top ones in that, who actually stood in the gap, who said, you know what, young man, I want to be there for you. Can I be there for you? And I didn't even know how to take it. I don't know if you remember. I didn't even know if he hadn't sat there right there in David Lively's cues, and he's talking to me, and I'm just like, this is way too serious. This is too thick of a moment right now. I'm way too young to be trying to make these kind of life decisions. So I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. And during those rough, you know, transitioning years, you know, he was always that steadfast, just mantle, that post that I could always lean on if I needed to lean on. And as years went by, transitioning, went off to University of Miami, got an athletic scholarship, played football for a few years. We'll talk about that later. Injuries, you know the whole nine. I'm still dealing with it to this day. I sleep wrong, I wake up, my back hurts, you know. I was like, you're playing basketball, you're not doing football. So after those years, you know, I came out of high school and just something didn't sit well with me. It bothered. It was kind of a chip on my shoulder. I said, it is not right that the next generation constantly is neglected, that the next generation constantly has these gaps in their lives, and there's not enough people in the circle. They, you know, it sounds cliche when it says it takes a village to raise a child, but it's so true. And when I see this village right here, you know, babies sitting in other people's homes, everybody's all family, you know, tios and uncles and everybody's here being united in a family, and I took that very serious. And you know, when I went back to high school, my old high school, and I started to see all this demand, these children that just did not have the help they needed, didn't necessarily want to be the person helping them, by myself anyway, but I was kind of thrown into it. And it was one of those things, I think back to biblical, where, you know, you wrestle with God on what your calling is. You're like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to be a teacher. My mom was a teacher. Not doing that. I was like, my mom was broke. I'm sorry. No, I'm not having that. Teachers don't get paid enough. I'm not having it. I'm going to be an engineer. Hated engineering too, so what am I going to do? As much as I try to run, as much as I try to wrestle with God, what happens? You end up being right back, and I have a hip injury to show for it. You can't wrestle with him. You're going to lose, right? And at the end of the day, as much as we battle back and forth, I started to understand why I went through what I went through. And it was like 5 years ago, my eldest aunt passed away. I was in Jamaica, in the mountains. There was a whole funeral, you know, crazy situation. And I had already been given this mission. And I was like, Lord, I don't know what you're doing, but he gave me this mission. And I was literally working on the mission statement, kind of like Sermon on the Mount. Like I was literally just isolated and focused. You know, Jamaican had no signal. Like there's no cell phones, there's none of that. So I'm sitting there writing this mission. And it was almost like my aunt was kind of a conduit, like she was speaking to me, and God was speaking through her to me. And it made everything that I had gone through make sense. Everything I had gone through makes sense. And I thought of you, and I thought of all these different men in my life who were bridging the gap. And that's where it hit me hard at, that's my calling. As much as people have paid it forward to me, it was time for me to pay it forward. And it was time for me to help bridge the gap. And it was always that as much as I got involved with education and teaching and tutoring, I was always doing so much more. I wasn't just helping you in your math. I was trying to pay forward. I was trying to instill wisdom in you. I wanted you to understand what was coming. You know, I wanted you to understand what just happened to you. What's going on with mom and dad is not your fault, etc. And so we started this organization called United Mentors. And even previous to United Mentors, and after these last 4.5 years, because of your influence, hundreds upon hundreds, I would even say close to thousands of kids have been touched, have been helped, have been fulfilled. You know, where 2010 I got married. You know, we came in the same household. This young man right here, where you're talking about watching videos from back in the day. I can't watch a wedding video. Like I can't do it. Just like it moves me too fast. And when we were given, I know you remember when we were given a speech. Okay, everybody's been married. Has gone through the ceremony. You come out, the ladies, you guys are all beautiful, and you come out your gowns. It's all about you. It was all about her for about 15 minutes, okay? we did the ceremony and everything was beautiful, and then I said I would be remiss if I didn't say something on behalf of this young man. And I started to speak. I don't remember what I said, but I can definitely tell you the Lord was speaking out through me. And some of the biggest, strongest, like most macho men I've ever seen in my life, former basketball players, football players, were just boo-hooing, just crying. I don't know. I'm standing there talking in front of the room. I have no idea what I'm saying, but I'm looking around like, why is everybody crying? Like, everybody's crying. And after everybody's coming up and like that speech, and I was like, I don't know what I said. I don't know what I said, but it was something in me that had been going on from my childhood. To now seeing this young man who needed a father that actually did bridge that gap, where like being a mentor, being a man, being an individual who plans on stepping and bridging that gap was who I was going to be. And so everything I've done, everything that I've moved on since then has been about that. How can we help these generations? Because as much as us as adults, we're still trying to grow, and we're still, we're still sheep, and we're still students, and we're still overcoming. They're the innocents. They don't deserve some of the things that we went through. And if we can guard them from that, then that's our job. That's our responsibility. And I'm going to share this one story in conclusion, because I can talk about it.